Hi, I'm Antony John, and welcome to the Manic Organic. We got lots of stuff going on here today. It's my wife Tina's birthday, and we're gonna have a party in the greenhouse. I'm also getting the greenhouse ready for winter. We've got a fantastic band coming, Jay Clark and the Jones. We've got some friends coming over to celebrate. And we're gonna cook some fantastic stuff from our garden for this birthday meal for Tina. First of all, we've got Jerusalem artichoke soup with parsnips. And then we're gonna make this unbelievably good Argentinian pot roast called sobre barriga using our sweet, sweet cherry tomatoes.
It's gonna be so much fun you won't even believe it.
Getting ready for the party is a gas, but I've got lots of work to do in the fields before the guests arrive. While Dan harvests the fennel for a restaurant order, my focus is on the organic cherry tomatoes and Jerusalem artichokes.
Dylan Thomas was a brilliant Welsh writer who had a great knack for unlikely combinations of words like lovely, ugly town and irreligious snow. And what do the English mean when they say something's horribly beautiful anyway? What about this? Jerusalem artichokes. They're not from Jerusalem, and they're not even an artichoke. They are, in fact, a sunflower. And the name Jerusalem is a corruption of the Italian girasole, meaning turn to the sun, because these are a sunflower. Now, Jerusalem artichokes are one of North America's only native vegetables. They were here long before the pioneers got here, but once they did get here, they went all over these little fellas and they grew them in their cabins, and soon they took them to the continent back home, and they were for a while more popular than potatoes. These are a lovely fall and winter crop. They store really well, and you have the added benefit of beautiful yellow flowers in the fall.
And so there I was, on my own with my trusty companion Teg by my side. Artichokes to the left of us, artichokes to the right of us. We were in the Jerusalem artichokes for days. Completely lost we were. Unfortunately, by the third day we had to eat one of our porters. It was delicious with a little white wine and some carrots.
A few things to keep in mind when you're planting Jerusalem artichokes at home in your garden. They need lots of space. They're heavy feeders, so you really got to stick the compost to these babies. And once you plant them, put them in the place that you don't mind having them for a long time, because once they're in the ground, they're there for good. They keep sprouting up. They send out little tubers every year in the fall. So an out-of-the-way spot in the garden that gets lots of sun is the perfect spot for these little beauties. But for your first crop, let's show you how to get them in the ground. You plant them just like potatoes because they are a tuber. You need to give the plants a lot of space in the rows, about 1.5 feet apart. And if you're going to plant a couple of rows, 3 feet between the rows is about right. I'm burying them about 3 inches deep. And the new seedlings will sprout from the eyes here on the tubers. So get them in the ground and cover them over. Put the next one in here. Now, the great thing about Jerusalem artichokes is they're really trouble-free plants. There's no insect that really bothers them. There's very few diseases. The only problem you might have is called fusarium mold, and it'll show up as a white collar of mold around the base of the plant. It means the soil's getting tired. You've got to dig the artichokes up out of that bed after a few years and move them to a new location. Now, after these plants are established, the next year they'll put up their own seedlings. What you need to do is come in with either a rototiller or a fork and thin out those seedlings so you still maintain that 3 feet between the row and 1.5 feet between the seedlings coming up. So go into the garden in the spring after the plants have sprouted up and pull out the seedlings that you don't need. When the Jerusalem artichokes are ready in the fall, around about October and November, dig up the tubers and store them in some dry sand in a cool, damp, dark place.
And the Lord spoke, and he said, "You shall harvest Jerusalem artichokes."
Now, a lot of people ask me, just where do you look for Jerusalem artichokes on these plants anyways? Well, it's not above the ground, it's under the ground. You gotta grab a hold of the plant and dig deep because there's huge numbers of tubers on these things. There we go, look at these. Jerusalem artichokes are low in starch, so they're good for you that way too. And they're high in sugar, so they're really tasty. And that high sugar content acts just like an antifreeze in the winter. So they store in the ground really well. They won't freeze solid when the snow and the cold comes. You can dig them right through the winter. And they also are very, very productive plants. They'll yield a lot of tubers. You can get up to 1 kilo of tubers from each plant if they're in well-fertilized, loose soil. What a jackpot! Why couldn't my potatoes have given me this kind of yield?
Because they flower so late in the year, Jerusalem artichokes are a really important source of food for late-feeding bumblebees, like this guy here, and honeybees. He's stocking up ready for the winter. Pretty cool, huh?
Now that we have a jackpot of organic artichokes, let's see if we can hit pay dirt in the tomato patch, and then Dean will try his luck with my wife in the kitchen. As an organic farmer, I like to recycle whenever I can. To protect our salad crops from the frost, I reuse the old greenhouse plastic to make these portable shelters. With 20-foot pieces of rebar as the frame, these shelters are a low-cost way of extending the growing season on our organic farm. The salad crop can withstand the cold, but the cherry tomatoes are much more fragile, and this is my last chance to harvest them before the frost hits. Our cherry tomatoes and tomato plants are the first to get hit with frost, but the leaves are the ones that take most of the damage. Now, the reason the fruit doesn't get hit as bad by the frost as the leaves is because of the high sugar content in each of these little jewels. It acts just like a natural antifreeze. And as long as they feel firm in the hand, you know they haven't been damaged by frost, and they'll be fine to eat still. Now, we grow 3 types of cherry tomatoes here on our farm. This one's my favorite. I think it's the sweetest. It's called Sun Gold. We also grow a yellow variety called Sweet Yellow. And we have a standard red variety called Sweet Million. And all of these cherry tomatoes are unbelievably sweet this time of year. I want you to think of ice wine. It just tastes like grapes. Oh yeah. So I'm going to get a late harvest of these, and we're going to use them in this dish today, sobre barriga. And the sweetness adds a lovely dimension to the flavor of this dish. And the acid in the tomatoes actually helps soften and tenderize the meat. Cold and sweet. Delicious. Now, as long as the cherry tomatoes are showing some color, you can ripen them at home in the house in a brown paper bag, put a banana in it, and the gas the banana gives off, the ethylene, will help to ripen these and any other tomatoes that are almost but not quite ready. So if there's a danger of frost coming, get the ones with some color and ripen them in a bag where they're safe. Now that the tomatoes are finished, my pal Tag and I are off to renew an acquaintance.
Hello, girls.
With a vegetable we harvested a few weeks ago. Oh, I'm so happy to see my onion crop again. It brings tears to my eyes as I gently caress each and every one with my rake, making sure they're clean and dry. Hey, do you ever get the feeling you're forgetting something, but you can't really remember what it is you're forgetting? These onions are in this room curing, And what we're doing in this room works for you at home as well. First of all, they need a warm, sunny, dry location so that they can start forming a tough outer skin, and that gets them ready for storage. When the tough skin is formed on them, then you can move them into a cool, dark place like your basement. But give them a couple of days in warm, dry conditions first.
One of the things I love about growing onions is you get to see the results of your harvest in one great big pile. We've got a treasure trove of gold and red here, about 1,000 pounds worth. This variety here is called Red Wing. It's a really nice, mild, fairly long-term storage onion that'll keep for about 3 months if it's properly cared for.
And we can help them along by trimming off the green tops. Trimming. That's it. I forgot my haircut.
Hey, Anthony, how are you? Good to see you, Jared. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Anth, what'll it be?
Short back and sides, please. Don't make me look like an idiot.
I don't know if there's any hope for this, but...
Well, work miracles for me.
All right, let's roll.
This is my good friend and stylist, Ronnie Pants. Ron's had years of experience.
Oh, yes.
It's not a haircut so much as a state of mind.
Here's your Howard Cosell.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's contest promises to be one of the most exciting pugilistic endeavors in the history of boxing.
We always say, the higher the hair, the closer to God.
A masterpiece.
Back in the greenhouse, the band is getting ready, and I have an appointment in the kitchen with Dean. As luck would have it, Tina's sister's boyfriend is in a band, and they've offered to serenade my wife on her birthday.
The band's setting up in the greenhouse, so I better get going and cook the meal for tonight. The people are starting to arrive for the party, and I want tonight's meal to be absolutely perfect. So I've enlisted the help of one of the guests, my friend Dean Elia from Pazzo in Stratford. Now I've promised Dean the last 2 dances with Tina tonight if he gives me a hand with sobrebarriga and Jerusalem artichoke soup. Now, sobrebarriga it's like an Argentinian pot roast and uses beef and some organic ingredients from our garden. The cherry tomatoes are just about finishing. Okay, Dean, why don't you show me how to portion up this beef?
All right. So all we're going to do is cut the beef into fist-sized portions. We're going to remove some of the sinew and this fat in between. And you just want to follow the natural lines of the beef.
Right.
This has got a lot of fat through it, which is great. That'll break down during the long cooking process. What won't break down is this thick fat here. So we're just removing any pieces like that.
We're using organic beef today from a farmer down the road. It's a really fabulous product, nice marbling in it too, huh?
It's beautiful. And that's the key to a good braise, is something that has a lot of connective tissue that'll break down during the cooking process.
I think we can take this to the pan and start browning it now?
Yes. Hot pan, get your oil heated.
Okay.
All right, let's season these up and get them into the pan. Brown them quickly. I'll let you pepper, I'll salt.
Okay, you don't want to crowd them too close in the pan.
No, you want them to fry, not stew yet. This will take about 20 minutes. All right, flip those.
Okay, time to get the cumin seed.
Right, so you just dry cast iron pan, medium heat, just until you can smell them. It's essential to toast them just to release their flavor.
Okay.
That's great. That'll take probably a minute. Those look good to me, Anthony. Let's get them out and grind them.
Oh, they smell fabulous.
All right, you're well on your way. Got your grinding arm on?
Armed and ready.
Great.
Oh, that smells wonderful.
They're also a lot easier to grind once you've toasted them, so.
Oh, wow. This room is filled with the scent of toasted cumin right now. It's just wonderful aroma.
Great. I think we can start to layer this up then.
Okay.
We can go listen to the band tune up after this.
Beautiful. Okay, so what else is going into this sobrebarriga?
Everything you see here, plus a little chicken stock. So just layer it up. After the green onions, the cherry tomatoes,
Okay, beautiful.
the garlic.
So, do you know what they call a crabby Argentinian cowboy? A groucho.
Just make with the carrots.
What do you call an overweight Argentinian cowboy? A poncho. I'll get the chicken stock.
All right, yeah, you do that. And then we'll add in the chilies. You can just pour in the chicken stock,
Okay, so we got about 12 cups.
I would say.
Okay, lovely.
And last, the coriander.
And the secret ingredient, the cumin.
Cumin and the lid.
Great.
Looks great. One more thing,
What's that?
salt.
The salt.
And the salt's gonna draw out some of the juices from the vegetables.
Okay. Into the oven it goes.
Yeah, you got 5 hours to make a soup and get dressed.
Now this is a soup that celebrates the coming of fall. Jerusalem artichokes are just starting to ripen now. Parsnips are coming out of the ground and celery root is ready as well. We've got some chicken stock to give it a lovely velvety richness and leeks and onions. So we're gonna finish cutting up the vegetables into dice and then we can go to the stove and start cooking it. Now, difference between peeling versus scrubbing.
It's all a matter of preference. I personally like the peel on it. It's got more flavor. Great. All right, so everything's small. Make it over to the stove.
Start sweating the onions and the leeks.
Go over empty-handed.
Okay.
So like any soup, you start off with a bit of butter and a bit of your flavoring.
Okay, sizzling good.
Good.
Leeks are in.
Right? Always a little bit of salt. So you just let that sweat for 5 minutes just to release some of the flavors, some of the sweetness.
Oh yeah, it's coming up now nicely.
And then into the pot, we put the rest of the ingredients. Jerusalem artichokes.
Okay. Good.
And your celery root. And our friend the parsnip.
And top it up with chicken stock.
Right? And this works with any vegetables, but it's a basic pureed soup recipe.
Nowadays, it's also possible to get organic chicken stock at your supermarkets. It used to be a hard thing to find, but in addition to the vegetables, we've got here organic chicken stock as well, just to round it out.
You can even make it, I hear.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just bring it up to a simmer and let it go till everything's soft. You've got everything chopped small, so it should take about 20 minutes. Oh, this is boiling. Sounds like the band's tuning.
Yeah, they should have everything in place by the time the guests arrive, which, well, they better hurry up because they're just coming here now. We're gonna get this soup ready and take the sobrebarriga out of the oven. It should be timed perfectly.
Soup's on. Here's Ron. Don't go away for long, 'cause the party's on.
All right.
Okay, well, they should be able to smell that soup from here while they're lining up to the greenhouse.
Is that what that is?
Okay.
I think that's it.
Looks good.
Great.
So we'll put this back on the stove to reheat it. And check on the sobrebarriga.
Let me get that for you.
Okay. Trivet.
Hang on.
Look at that.
You're a genius.
Smells fabulous. Now, check for seasoning, huh?
That's the ticket.
Perfect.
You got it. That's great. The meat's very tender.
Oh man, that's great. Okay. Job well done.
You're all right.
This is Tina's 5th 27th birthday, and the parties just keep getting better. Our get-togethers draw our friends better than our compost heap draws flies. Could it be the chance to celebrate the changing of the seasons with us? Or perhaps it's the chance to exchange interesting thoughts and ideas over an organic meal. Nah, I think it's all the free food and drink.
First artichokes of the year. There's a steaming hot.
Good stuff, yeah.
The soup went down a treat, and the sobre barriga was so hearty, we're gonna have a really great party. A great meal like this brings out the passion in everyone. It looks as if Phil has an admirer across the table.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming to my special birthday party this year. It means a lot to me to have you all here. And most of all, I'd like to thank Antony for cooking such a wonderful dinner for us all.
You're very welcome.
Until next time on the Manic Organic, I'm Antony John, a man out dancing in his field.